Um, anyway, I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna do a little guide on Wukong today, and then we are gonna do some ranked games, and I'm gonna play Wukong and um, do like commentary on what I'm doing. So yeah, we're gonna get into that stuff set up here. Okay, so first up, I'm gonna do a 60-second guide on how to do Wukong, and then I'm gonna look at some more in-depth stuff. So the quick guide is Wukong 1, Magic Cudgel, does a line of damage and hits enemy gods and minions. It does boosted damage against minions and jungle camps. His 2, Master's Will, is an AoE circle around you. It does good damage and it slows and attack speed slows enemies, so you want to use that to box. His 3, 72 transformations, has 3 forms. You have Ox when you look at your feet, Tiger in the middle, and then if you look all the way out, you have Eagle. Ox is knock-up immune, slow immune, root immune, and knocks up enemies in your path. Tiger has no immunities, and it stuns the first enemy hit. That includes minions, so try to not aim at the minions. And then the Eagle goes the fastest. It also has root and slow immunity, but no knock-up immunity, and it does not do any damage. So this is how that looks. And then you have the other forms as well. And then your last ability, Somersault Cloud. You press it, you go CC immune. So you turn gold and go CC immune. You can use it to avoid CCs like that. In the cloud while you're up here, you heal. And then you dive down and do damage. And you also spawn this clone that will auto-attack enemy gods when you go up in the air. You can use that to tank towers and stuff. Lastly, we're going to look at the passive, Undefeated Body. When Wukong goes below 60% health, he gains power and protections. This makes him really good at boxing the other character in lane, so that's how you want to use that. Also, we'll look at the build. So I think the best build on Wukong right now is Sundering Axe, Jotun's Vigor, Gladiator Shield, Oni Hunter's Garb, Mantle of Discord, and Stone of Binding. This is going to give you really good damage. You're going to heal off of the wave in the laning phase, and you're going to be able to tank a ton of enemies and be super safe, which makes him very strong. All right, and that is my 60-second Wukong guide. Now I'm going to talk about some more in-depth tactics that you can use with him. So typically, looking at each of the abilities, the first 2 are pretty straightforward, but when I'm going in on somebody on Wukong, you want to dive backline with this character pretty much always. So using the 3 is your best engage, and you always want to go blink on Wukong for your second relic, so that you can blink on a carry. And the reason you want to go blink is because if I'm like this far away, like I can Tiger and I'll hit him. But if I get hit by a stun or a slow or a silence on the way, especially slows, the Tiger is not slow immune. So it just totally goes super slow and like you might not be able to reach people in time. So it's much better to blink and then instantly knock up or stun somebody from like right beside them so that they don't have time to react. And that's going to be like your #1 engagement method with Wukong. So if I'm going on this Odin, I would blink forward, I would Tiger, and then I would auto and start going into my abilities. You always want to go auto 2 first off of the Tiger stun or off of the knockup, because now they're getting slowed as well. And you can start autoing them. And then as they run away and they get distance from you, because you get slowed yourself by doing auto attacks. So as they get distance, then you can finish them off with the 1. The other thing to look at is once you have engaged, you always want to make sure that your ultimate is up when you're blinking in, especially if there's a lot of enemy gods around, like the support, because then you want to use your CC immunity on your ultimate to get safety, they've probably hit you for damage now, so your passive is activating, and you can come down and hit for a ton of damage with that ultimate, be healed up, and you get to reset your cooldowns when you're up there. So if I go up there and I wait for 4 seconds, most of my cooldowns are going to be almost coming up or already coming up again. So that's a really good way to play the fights as Wukong. The last thing that we're going to look at is how to clear the wave effectively. And there's a couple different strategies that I like to use with Wukong. Just make these minions a little tougher. So obviously your one's not just going to like one-shot the wave all the time. But on the first wave, I go my 1 first, and then I take my 3. And what I like to do is just come up to the first wave. As the other character is walking up, hit the melees and them at least. If you can hit them and the melees and the archers, do that. And then the minions are going to aggro to you, so you can come back behind your minions. And as the other guy comes up here and tries to clear your wave, you want to trade with him and tiger him to do a lot of damage and start poking out your enemy there. Wukong is generally going to have pretty good clear compared to the enemies. So it's really good, especially once your 1 can one-shot the archers, to kill the archers and then go on the other guy and use your 2 to trade with them with autos so that they have an attack speed slow and they're slowed and you can just auto into them. And because we go power first on Wukong, our autos are going to hit really, really hard compared to the other guy, especially when our passive activates, and we're going to have more protections when our passive is up. Is there any other things that I want to talk about? Generally, when your team is doing objectives, you don't want to be tanking on Wukong, because Wukong is one of those characters that is good at zoning because he does really, really strong damage, and you can make the enemies scared of you. So if your team is doing FG, you can zone on Wukong, because if someone is trying to walk up to the pit and you just hit them and they take like 400 damage, especially on a carry, like they're going to be scared of walking up any further. So you can use this character in that way as well. Alright, I think that's kind of my Wukong crash course and everything that I wanted to go over. Oh, leveling order. I always level up the 1 first, then the 2, then the 3, and at level 5 you put a point in your ult, and then at level 16 to 20 put more points in your ult. So you don't need the damage on your ultimate that badly, because you just want the safety during the laning phase, and then the damage is like, it gets high when, you know, later in the game when you're actually going to be like really hitting people with it a lot. But your base abilities are so strong, like 380 base damage, 290 base damage, 260, and they all have like good power scaling, so you just want to be using those as much as you can. All right, let's get into some games.